Welcome to a special edition of the Florida Forecast. We are going to look ahead. No, I mean way ahead to the upcoming winter. I'm certified meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, and first we're going to look at what could happen for this upcoming winter, and then towards the end of the video, we are going to break down why. Before we get into this video, if you do want to stay updated on what could be a wild winter in Florida, you have to hit subscribe. If you do find this content helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help us out a lot. Here we go. We're first going to look at some long-range climate models, and then we're going to break down the why, because it is important to know why the models are saying something and not just take them for gospel. They are just guidance, and certainly something this far out needs to be taken with a grain of salt. But when we have the science and meteorology to back it up, it certainly gives you a little more confidence that what the model depicts could actually come into fruition. So here we go. Here is one climate model. This is the CFS V2, and this is the precipitation anomaly, the rainfall anomaly for us, because we seldom get snow even on a cold winter. But nonetheless, you see the green here. The green colors represent the higher than normal precipitation expectation for the meteorological winter months of December, January, and February. So that 3-month average there that we call meteorological winter. So again, important to note that is over those entire 3 months averaged out. So that is the CFS V2. This is the CANSIPS. It's another climate model, but it shows the same kind of story. It's even a little more aggressive for the parts of the deep south and even up to the northeast. You see again that big bright blob of green across the southeast U.S. and then through most of the state of Florida. Again, here is your scale on the right. So those precip anomalies of more than an inch when it comes to December, January, and February. And remember, over those 3 months, this is our so-called dry season where we typically don't see a lot of rain. So this is the huge change that could be coming for the winter of 23 into 2024 with this very active subtropical jet stream. So there's a little tease to the why brought on by El Nino. You've heard that a lot this winter when we've talked about tropical meteorology, or this summer when we've talked about tropical meteorology. It plays a big thing in the tropics, of course, but also for Florida specifically in the winter months. So here's another model, just to kind of beat this dead horse, NMME model, okay? This is for December, January, and February as well, for those 3 months averaged together, still showing the same kind of thing. Higher than normal precip from Texas all the way through the deep south, including us in Florida, and then even up the east coast. In an El Nino winter, it's typically, I use that word typically a lot, because that's what it typically is. But it gives us that blockbuster winter more often than not in the northeast as well, in terms of those big nor'easters cranking out those giant snowfall totals. So again, that's something that we're going to be watching closely. When those nor'easters develop, we also tend to see severe weather outbreaks in the south, including Florida as well, given the environmental conditions. More on the severe weather side of this in just 1 second. I first want to show you the temperature anomaly here. And there's not much going on this map. This is the NMME again, climate model average from December, January, and February, and it shows, okay, near normal. That's what that white color is on your screen, warmer than normal temperatures up to the north, as you were to expect in the Pacific Northwest. I'll show you why in a second, but nonetheless, average winter in terms of the temperature. But you have to peel this back, because I do think fall is going to be warm in Florida. I mean, warmer than normal. It's always warm, okay? And then I think winter is going to start pretty warm, above average in Florida as well from a temperature standpoint. But as you go month by month, we're going to fast forward to February. Look at that. And I think February might be the month, end of January into February, that the hammer comes down, not only for Florida, but for a lot of the East, because it's more than just El Nino. There are other oscillations, climate oscillations that are in play here that are going to impact the status of our jet streams, which bring the colder air down, which promote storm development, all that stuff. El Nino is just one of those things. But you clearly see a strong signal here from the CANSIPS model showing the much below average temperatures, the well below average temperature for the month of February. And again, this is in addition to what could be a very active time in terms of the weather as well. So the reason why this could be, the reason why I am thinking that we could have a pretty active season is because, in a cold season, it's because of El Nino, of course. We've been talking about it. We've been talking about it since hurricane season. I want you guys to focus where you see that green blob on your screen, the wetter than normal. So that moisture feed coming off of the Pacific all the way through. That is the subtropical jet stream. Okay, and the subtropical jet stream, it's a jet stream that hangs out near the tropics. It's still in the subtropics, but it's close there. It's that secondary jet. Our main jet stream is the one you see towards the top of your screen where it says jet stream. That is the big polar jet. But nonetheless, in an El Nino winter, the subtropical jet stream is active. Now, we do have disturbances that get hung up in this subtropical jet that ride from the Pacific Ocean all the way across the desert Southwest, across the deep South, and then into Florida. So these disturbances kind of get transported. It's almost like a treadmill, this conveyor belt, if you will, of disturbances that keep our weather active. And of course, whenever it is wet and cloudy in Florida and the sun can't heat us up, it becomes cold as well. And that's the other byproduct of this. So I want to show you the temperature anomalies here. And you see where it's expected to be colder than normal. Again, this is a typical El Nino. So this isn't actually the forecast, so to speak, but this is what typically happens because of that very active subtropical jet stream. And you see the blue, including Florida, into that cooler than normal. Remember where I showed you the model before where it was warmer than normal? And I'll take you back to February, actually, to kind of illustrate this more. We see kind of right over my head that it's orange and brown kind of towards Idaho and the Pacific Northwest. The model is really latching on to that El Nino pattern, and we are going to be in a strong El Nino by the time we get into the winter of 23 and 24. Sometimes these two jet streams, the polar jet up north and the subtropical jet that runs through the south, kind of merge. I like to use the analogy from Ghostbusters of crossing the streams. If you've seen that movie, to beat the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy, they have to cross the streams. It was always warned not to because a big, powerful thing happened, and they finally have to do so to beat that Stay Puft Marshmallow guy. It's kind of the same thing. When those two jet streams kind of cross or merge, you get these big storms that develop near or out over the Atlantic. That's what typically happens when you see these explosive nor'easters kind of blast the Northeast with snow and then bring severe weather to the deep South, including Florida, during the winter months. So that is something that we are going to have to watch out for. The one kind of wild card into this, not really wild card, but the one thing that we're really going to watch for also in an El Nino year, typically, there's that word again, our severe weather episodes are significant and more frequent because of the presence of extra wind shear brought on by this guy here, that subtropical jet stream. So if we get a cold front to come down, if we get a front to not only deliver us cool air, but to spark thunderstorms, not only do we have more moisture than normal to work with because we have this moisture feed coming in from the Pacific over the Gulf of Mexico, but we also have extra wind shear in play, that turning of the wind with height. And as that happens, you can get those thunderstorms to rotate, becoming severe, and then potentially creating tornadoes. Again, some of Florida's worst severe weather outbreaks, including tornado outbreaks, have happened during an El Nino winter. So this is going to be something that we are extremely mindful of as well. Not only that it's going to be potentially cloudier, potentially wetter, potentially stormier, but also the potential, there's that other word again, for significant severe weather episodes in the state of Florida. So something that we are going to watch for. It doesn't always happen, so I want to be clear about that. Just because it's typical doesn't mean it always happens, but the fact that we do have some good guidance from several climate models of the wetter than normal pattern, of the active pattern. Again, here are those three climate models, again, oscillating through. That certainly gets our antenna up, and it gives us more confidence, unfortunately, that something like that could happen. So there's a little taste of what's to come, and again, potentially, anyway. And if you want to stay updated on that, if you want to stay updated on Florida weather as we make the transition from the ridiculously hot summer that was in Florida to winter, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that. If you hit that notification bell as well, you'll be alerted to any time we post new content, and we will catch you next time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.